I've played around with it. I've used version 10 a little bit, and but the biggest challenge I have is getting the data prepared and imported in Tableau. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So to just start with Tableau, like it's just a data analytics tool, or we call it as visual analytics tool, or even in-memory analytics tool. Like the reason why we call it so is like it just helps us data to be visualized, and it will be more interactive, dynamic, and it can connect to any databases. Like the ones which you could see here, I'll just show you. Like these are the databases which you can connect, and you can just use the ODBC connection to connect to various databases. And other thing why we call it as in-memory analytics tool is because like it has some functionalities called extract, so you can actually make the data faster while loading and processing. So that's the reason. Like I'll just talk about it later in the next classes, like what are the type of function stuffs. Then other thing is like as I said, like as you have an experience on Tableau, like you'd be, I'll just take some sample database. The basic, I guess you would be knowing the basic terminologies, but still I'm just telling it in a very short manner that we have something called dimension and measures. The dimension would be on the, like the examples would be like region, custom name, segments, dates, and whereas measures are the ones which you can measure actually like a quantity or maybe a sales, profit, and so. Other things which you have is like parameters, filters. So I just want to know about your expectation on this course, so either I can help you to make sure that I fulfill that. So any specific expectation on the level of detail you are expecting from me, or maybe any specific helps, like I was said that you had some few questions which need to be clarified, so I'd love to hear about it before I start my class.
Oh, sure. No, I'm really looking for sort of a comprehensive overview of the capabilities of Tableau and how to use the software.
Mm-hmm.
I've just done I guess my level of experience is I've done the quick start videos on the Tableau website, and I've used a lot of the Office tools like the Microsoft Office or Excel and Word, and those I've used frequently and I know how to use well. But Tableau, I'm familiar with the capabilities overall, and I've seen a number of example dashboards that I really like, and I've seen a good number of Tableau visualizations. But how to use it and how to make the visualizations, I've got very limited experience, and I've just taken the introductory videos from the Tableau website. So really a comprehensive overview is what I'm looking for. And I have a couple of Excel data files that I'm very interested in converting into a quality dashboard, and that's my goal for this course, is to gain enough understanding of the use of Tableau to be able to build my own dashboards using Excel data.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So maybe I'll just start up with the some sample dashboards which we have already on the Tableau. It's just a superstore. I guess like I'm not sure whether you have seen it before. Did you? Did you just try out the sample dashboards on the Tableau?
Yes, those are the types of dashboards that um, that I've been looking at. And most of the data I have typically is, what I'm working with now is quality data. So it's typically our performance as a percentage of proficiency. So 99% proficient, 98%, and then we have a target for each, and that's what I'm trying to visualize. So not really anything I have is geomapping. So because the medical center I work for is a single site, and so we don't really have a lot of data that is spread over multiple sites, you know. So I don't really have much use for that. But most of the other functions I do. And if you have some ideas, we have multiple locations, but they're fairly close together. So they're different buildings, but in the same around the same city. So.
I get it. Yeah. So just going to start with it. Like I'll just like to show the basics. Like maybe we'll start up with the basic terminology. Is that fine for you?
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll just start up from the basics. Like I'll just make sure like I'll try to complete the very basics very soon so that you already know, and we'll go with some advanced things, and maybe if possible we can uh, try some dashboards with your data. Maybe I don't want the real data of yours, but I need some sample data or some fake data. Maybe just you can use the Excel, the random function which you already know. So for example, just create some like maybe a similar.
Oh, one quick question too as we start. Are you using Tableau version 10 or version 9?
It's 10, Tableau 10.
Okay, great. Great, that's the same I have.
Yeah, that's great. So I just want you to, not now, you can take your time, but I just want you to create something like this so it will be easier for me. And I just want you to help on the dashboard. So I just want you to use this function, and maybe I just want you to create your own a replica of your file, like your data which you have. Yeah, sure. So like these are like few dashboards which you could see. Like uh, here we just got some profitability, and this is just a United States map with the colorings are just based off the profit ratio, whereas the you could see the legend here. I don't want to go detail about the values about it, but just want to show like what and all is possible here. This is a example area chart, whereas you have on the consumer, and yes, if I'm right, yes, in consumer, the blue ones are the profitable orders and the orange ones are the unprofitable orders. So you could see on different categories, different segments, different categories. So moving on to the next dashboards, this is a very simple highlight table. Steve, like I'm just getting some distance from your background. Can you just go on mute? Maybe if you have some questions, like you can unmute and ask me.
Oh, sorry, what should I do?
No, the background noise of yours is disturbing me. So can you just go on mute or something? Yeah, thank you. Like if you have some question, you can just always unmute it and ask it. But just want to ask, we just gonna explain about this. I just want you to go on mute. Sorry for that. Yeah. So this dashboard is just on the, it's a drill down of the previous, I guess. And this is just a sample heat table where you can see like this is just highlighted by the sales. So the lessons of the light blue and darker on the number of more sales. And this one at the bottom, it's like a circle chart. It's like kind of a 1D scatter plot, I would say. Like they have different names, but I would say it's like the lines represent. Just give me a minute. Even this is actually I have now really used this data. Median, it's a median. The black lines are the medians, and this is gonna say like different product service. Yes, by the products. So you could just understand them. So this is just a basic scatter plot, whereas the colorings of the profit ratio, and this is a bar chart, as you know. So you could have multiple, like each of them is called as worksheets. This particular, the highlighted one is called worksheets, and together it's called as dashboards. Steve, Steve, can you just unmute? I just want to ask some questions.
Sure.
Yeah. Like how familiar are you with the charts? Like I guess you should be knowing all the types of charts, but just want to know about it.
I have a general idea.
Yes.
In the recent past, for the dashboards I've been trying to work on, I've been looking mostly at bullet charts and at I forgot the name of the the other one, but like Pareto diagrams, and then the geomapping, and then the rankings. I mean, generally, I think I've got a decent understanding of the types of maps.
That's good. So if you just see some samples here on the right side using the show me option, like right now we are on dashboard view, so we are just unable to see it. And if you could see here, like this one is the text tables, and these are just the basics which the Tableau recommends us. So you could have like different like bubble charts, and one of the popular is always the scatter plots, like the ones here, and the histograms, bar charts, and maybe the stack bars also very popular ones. Though it is simple, it's widely used than in other charts, and the line charts. So I just want to talk about each of them. Like this is a regular tables, and this is the heat maps, and this is the highlight tables where the value is highlighted by one particular measure or something. And this is, as you said, geo mapping on symbols. This will highlight you some particular city or estate, and this you can help us to fill some state or country or region. And this would be a pie chart, as you know, bar charts, stack bar chart. Like in any point of time, like if you feel I'm fast or I'm not clear on something, you can always ask me, like, Rajiv, I'm not clear on this, so I'm very glad to explain it again. So feel free to ask it, and it's gonna be just us who gonna be here. So please enjoy your training. So
I sure will.
yeah, because like I do sometimes feel that I'm just going faster, but I will sometimes assume that you are getting it. But in really, if you didn't cannot, you can obviously ask me, stop me at any time and ask questions on it. On any particular chart, even the chart names which you say is not familiar for you and you want to know more about it, I will love to help it. Like I'll make sure I will try to explain with my knowledge. If I'm just missing out something, I'll try to learn it and make sure that I'll reply on the next session. Yeah. So this is just a tree maps, and this is circle view, which is just going to be instead of you using a bar chart, you can just have a circle view with number of dimensions, and this be a side by circles. I would, if possible, I'd like to show you each of them in action, maybe on with some sample data. I'd like to show it. On the first, just the introduction session, I just want to show the different types of charts and different types of dashboard available here. And if we have some more time, we'll just talk about creating some basics dashboards though. Line charts, different types of line charts, dual charts, like where you can have colorings by different things, or maybe two measures, area charts, the dual combination charts, scatter plots, histogram, box plot, like it just helps you to divide them based on their value, like into quartiles, and this will be a Gantt chart, bullet charts, and a bubble chart. So this will just give you a highlight of the very basic um, charts from the Tableau. We can also create some complex like Sankey chart, or maybe like I'm not getting some names right now, but whereas you could see on the Tableau public, like I'll just talk about the Tableau public in the next few minutes, where you can see where many types of charts and dashboards which you can try to recreate, or even you can download it and so I mean to say it, to say exact word would be like backtracking it and trying to replicate it with our own data.
Rajiv, do you mean looking at example dashboards and then building, like reverse engineering it, or if you can see it on Tableau, can you download it as a template and then insert your own data? Is that possible as well? What is typically the best approach?
So the best way is like I would suggest is like even if you download from the Tableau public, or if you have some other templates, it won't really match up with your data. So I would suggest is like just try to analyze and just uh, understand what are the calculated field they are using it. Then you create your own version of it. So that's how it will work, because if you have the same data, you can obviously replace the data source. Like if they have on a particular, say example, they have a sales data and you also have a sales data, it's very easy to just replace it. Whereas you have something on quality, but whereas they have on sales, the formulas need to be changed maybe. So it's good to re-engineer, and also it will help us to understand and you can create it the next time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So moving on to the next dashboard. So just want to, like, this is just a basic area charts, Gantt chart based on the times. I hope like you're familiar with the Gantt chart, and if you're not, just let me know. I can maybe explain like how it works.
Oh yeah, no, I know Gantt a little bit.
That's great. This is just the, as you said, the bullet charts, whereas the lines, if I'm right, it's on average sales target. Like in Tableau, the thing is you can, there are multiple ways to get what you need. Like it's not fixed to only one particular way. For us, which you can see on this for the particular line, we can make use of the built-in function called reference line for it, or you can even use another Gantt chart to make the line appear. So there are multiple ways. If I will try to help you out with some examples in the next classes. So bar chart, and this is just a simple table chart where I just colored table charts and just some what if analysis. And here, if I'm right, this would be help us to filter out things. So it's dynamic and interactive, as I said, using the filters which you got at the right side. You can just look for some particular time period, or you can just click on something so that it will be filtered out, or you can even go to some other worksheets using the actions. So before I start with them in detail, I just want to talk about the architecture of Tableau and different types of Tableau versions available, and maybe if possible we'll start the class today. And the duration of it is just 2 hours, right, Steve?
Sorry, what was your question?
My question was the duration is 2 hours, right?
Yes, I'm definitely available for 2 hours, but if you would like to go longer, will be fine for me as well. Whatever's most convenient for you.
I'm not sure like whether I could just make out for 2 hours today. Maybe we can try it for the upcoming days. We'll talk about the timings and things maybe at the last. So I do want to talk about the comfortable timings for both of us. But sure, like I can just talk at the end. And you can always stop me if you just want some break. If I'm just or boring on something, or maybe I'm just going slow on something. You can always stop me. Maybe take a 5 minutes break or something, and we can just catch up after it. So you're always welcome, and just make sure this is not like a training. Just make sure it's just going to be a one-to-one interaction. So and yeah,
Okay, great.
let's go forward with this. And to talk about Tableau, like I'll just show you some sample architecture of it from the internet. So the way it works is it just basically takes from any files, cubes, data marts, data warehouse, or any data sources. You could have like multiple things. From that, we just gonna use the connector to connect between them, and the data engine of the Tableau makes use of the Vis SQL, which is actually the next level of SQL, I'll say. And with that, Viscous SQL is actually converted to our dashboards, and which we could see on the browser, or maybe the Tableau desktop or the Tableau mobile. So this would be a very high level of how the Tableau works. And like whereas a very good thing about Tableau is like you need not know the uh, SQL or something. If you know SQL, that's well and good. You could use it for using the custom SQL when you want to try it on different databases or data sources. but it's not really much needed. The other thing is like we have multiple versions of Tableau, which is like the multiple products of Tableau, which I would like to show you on their official website maybe. Yeah, you could actually see it here, but still I'll just go into the website. So these are a few products of the Tableau, which is Tableau Desktop, Tableau Server, Tableau Online, Tableau Public, Tableau Mobile. The Tableau Desktop is the one which we're gonna use on the, yeah, where we create dashboards. And Tableau Server is where you can actually host your Tableau dashboard which you have created. And using Tableau Online, you can actually create dashboards very similar to Tableau Desktop. But as far as I have never really worked on Tableau Online. But as far as I heard from my colleagues and stuff, they prefer Tableau Desktop than Tableau Online. And Tableau Mobile is just a reader where you can just open up your Tableau dashboards in your mobile. And we have something called Tableau Reader. It's actually not listed here, but Tableau Reader is something like very similar to Tableau Desktop, but where you cannot create dashboards. You can but open the dashboards, interact with them, filter the data, and just work on it. And whereas Tableau Public is just a cloud version of the Tableau Desktop, where it's gonna be Tableau Public. I just don't have the Tableau Public the 10, but 9.3 is here. It's gonna be the layout would be very similar to Tableau Desktop, whereas you have some limited functionalities, like you cannot really save it to your local. You have to always depend on the cloud to save something, and you have very limited functionalities, like for example, say uh, you cannot have different data sources. Like you can just connect to very few Excels, CSV and stuffs. And other thing is like you cannot really uh, performance recording, something like I'm sure like I will get some time to talk about in the later classes. Like performance recording, you can just record the performance of the dashboard, so how much time has been taken on the executing the query, compiling the query. So that's something which Tableau Public lacks. And we have a public, like public.tableau.com, where you can see a number of dashboards. So it will always give you some examples of how dashboard works, or how you can integrate with them. So here you could see on the gallery, you can just see many dashboards, like people have taken some examples. Even actually most of them are real data, like it's kind of a block, like instead of showing on text, they are trying to show them on the Tableau dashboards. So you could just see a number of examples. If we get time, we'll try to replicate each of them, maybe some of them at least. Like I'm actually a very active user of the Tableau Public. Like I will actually will be surfing about this every day. When I go into the office, my first work would be like going into Tableau Public and trying to see what is the wish of the day, and whether I can replicate to my data. Like you have, like for this example is just on composers data. The one which you could see is actually it's a it's these are shapes. Like if you could see, they just try to replicate the number of films in a, like, what do you call this chart, like the diagram, music notes maybe. I'm not sure about that.
I mean, neither. I wouldn't know what exactly it's called.
Okay, no problem. Like if I'm right, it's just something like the notes of the composers, music composers. So I'm just gonna say like they are representing each of them. Like you could see the, if it's higher on the bar, maybe we'll just call it for bar for the time period. If it's on the low, it's 2 and it's 4. And whereas if it's on reverse, it's higher value, 7. Like this will help me to find like how can, I'm not sure this would be very great to be used on my production data, but I can just think of some ideas from each of the dashboards. So this will keep you in hand, like even after the our training is over. I would personally recommend you to um, just search through these examples. So you can always ask me doubt about this, or you can try to replicate your own data with this. So you can just download it here, like Tableau workbook, and open it up in our Tableau desktop. I guess they have created with the 10.1 beta version. Like I have only 10.0 on my laptop, but I will talk about it. How can we, if for example you have a Tableau 10 but you want to open 10.1, I can just help you on it. But right now I just don't want to spend our time on this, but I'll surely spend time like how can we use the higher version dashboards on the lower version dashboard, like how can you open it. So maybe I can try to get some other examples. Maybe I'll just go with this. Sometimes they do disable it. The author of the dashboard has actually disabled the permissions. Or in this case, we actually try to re-engineer just by looking at it. Like we do not really have something to download and try it. So I'll help you out with that. How can we re-engineer each of the graphs? Oops, I get it. It was actually opening on 9.3, so that's why we didn't. Oops. Yeah. So I was wrong. Sorry for that. Like I had Tableau Public on my computer, so it was actually opening on it. Like this is 10.1. So if you have some dashboards, maybe some templates, you can always go to it and just try to back engineer each of them. So you could see they have how they have done it, and you can see each of the calculations. So before I just talk about them, I'd like to go with the basic terminologies again. So the dimensions, measures, whereas you could see make use of the parameters and calculator field. Parameters nothing but where you can get user inputs from inputs from the user. So which could be like say for example, like it can be a different data types, like it could be integer or string or just true or false or maybe date or time, and you can have it like a user to select from the particular list or particular range, or even you can just make them to enter anything, all just giving all will make them to enter anything. You can actually see it here, the parameters. If you just right click and show parameter control, you can see it here. You can choose it from different option. As you have it just all, you can see just the typing functionality here. If you just say I just had it on the list, and maybe I'll say 1 2, you can actually change it to different types like single valued list or a slider or even a compact list. So it's up to your requirement and your creativity and even the users. Like for my case, the users actually prefer the time print than the sliders, so they always want to type it, say example 2 or maybe 50 or something. If they can enter it. As we have only just list 1 and 2, even if you type more than that, it will actually try to pick one of the from the list which you have here. So this is the parameters, and the other thing is the calculator field. So where you can just have, so I just calc 1 to 3. Say I'm just taking some random measure from the, sorry, maybe I'll just take minimum plus 1, and we'll talk about each of the functions available here on the upcoming classes. Maybe I'll try to let me know your priorities maybe on the email, like what are your expectations or something. But I do get your expectation from what we speak, but even if you have something else or if you want me to take some particular topic at the priority, you can always email me about that. So this is a very simple and very sample calculations. And talk about the window of the window layout of the Tableau. So the menu bar, you just have something like the file, data, worksheets, dashboard, story, analysis, map, format, server, etc. So using the file, you can just open it, save it. So few popular things is like new will help you to open new dashboard, whereas open will help you to open a existing dashboard which you have already saved it. Close will just close out this. It does not close the Tableau, but it will just close out this particular dashboard. Whereas saving it will just make you save the changes, and save as will help you to save it as a new file. And using the export package workbook will help you to save it as a TWBX file, or maybe you can call it as a packaged file. Like I'll just talk about the different extensions on the next classes. I'll just make a note of it. Next classes, maybe in next few months I'll just talk about the extensions, different extensions in Tableau. Other thing is like paste sheet is like if you're just gonna copy a particular sheet from a different dashboard, or maybe even this particular dashboard, you can just paste it up. And import workbook is very similar to open. Other things, paste, yeah. Here on the workbook locally, you can select different languages, and the repository location is where the shapes, your data sources can be saved. It's the default location where it's going to be saved. So it's going to be my documents, my Tableau repository. You could see each of the folders will contain each of the data which we might create on the upcoming classes. I'll just show some recent files. And using data, you can just add some new data sources using this particular thing called paste data. So I just copied it. Either you can just use and paste data, so it will just actually be created as a new data source. You could see here clipboard, or even you can always copy paste it at any time. Like as I have already on my clipboard, I just paste it and I actually created as a new dashboard. I mean, sorry, the new data source. So it's not really important that the data should be on a Excel if you paste it like this, but it's going to be static. I'm just saying like this data which I just copy pasted it, so it's going to be static. If you really want to replace it, you have to create some other thing, or maybe you can replace it the same way it's did and just use the function called replace data source. So for example, I'm just going to replace each of them. Like just assume that these are different data. I'm just going to replace it. So my data source will be replaced, but the calculations which I've created will be just copied over there, and the dimension should be actually matching. Like if you're gonna replace any data source or any later point of time, so make sure the dimensions and measures are same, at least the ones which you have used on the views and the calculations. It does not need like you'd have the very exact dimensions. I do understand sometimes you have removed sales data from your Excel sheet and it's not really needed to make some dashboard. So you can always remove on the next version of your data source, but make sure you don't have them on the calculate field or on the dashboards which you have created. So if you have created, you have to just change the functions and make sure that it's not showing out the errors. Going,
Okay, great. And Rajiv, is it possible, for example, to directly link a dashboard to an Excel file, and then whenever I update the source Excel file, I have the dashboard updated, or do you always have to copy and paste it and make it static in Tableau, or are there different ways?
You can have it like you can have it. We call it as live connection, where you can, the data which you update on the Excel will be updated to your dashboard. So this is just a way where you can just create a simple data, but you need not really want to copy paste things. You can always use the new data source and just connect to an Excel. So I'll just show you that. The ones which you can see here, connection, live and extract. When you have it as live, when you make changes on the Excel file, it will be, the dashboard data will also be updated. Whereas if you have as extract, the data will not be updated. If you want to update, you have to refresh it manually or have some timed refresh. So whereas the timed refresh, you cannot have it on Tableau desktop, actually on Tableau server when you have hosted on the Tableau server. We'll talk about on the later classes about the extract. So did I answer your question regarding the live connection?
Okay, great. And is it possible? So one of the things I'm interested in doing is creating dashboard files on desktop on um, my personal computer, and then copy it to the shared drive at work. But then it would have to be linked again to the source files on the shared drive. Is it possible to set it up on my home computer and then copy it over um, to the shared drive and then relink it, the connection, or how would you do that?
Yes, it's going to be like very similar, like the one which we did here, add data source. You're just going to give the path of the shared drive which we have. For say example, it's going to be shared 1 to 3. So you just have to give the path of it and you can always connect it. But one thing which I like to add is like this will work when you have used it on the Tableau desktop. If you're gonna host it to the Tableau server, like so that the users can use it, make sure the Tableau server has the read access to the shared drive, so that the uh, the dashboard which is hosted on the Tableau server can open up your file and it's updated. Get my point?
Yes, but right now we don't have Tableau server, so my plan would be to set up the dashboards, link them to the source files, and then have the people that I want to present to install the viewer so that they can just view the files that I've set up. And that's probably how we'll start using it within the company. And then hopefully if people like it and it grows and the user base grows, we can upgrade to the server.
Then the user who's going to open the from the Tableau reader should have actually have access to the shared drive. That's the expectations. Like
Okay, and
I have not really tried on the Tableau reader, the this one which we are talking about, the file on the shared drive. But from my understanding, from my experience, I'm sure that the one who gonna open from the Tableau reader should have access to the shared drive.
yes, and that should be fine. That's the plan on my side.
Then it should be working. There should be no issues. You can just make sure
Okay.
connection is live. So if you have it on extract,
Yeah.
it's gonna not work, and if it's live, it will.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So moving on back to our example. So yeah. So when we are talking about this particular menu, we can actually add new databases using this. Paste data will just help you to the ones which you have copied from your clipboard. It can be even if you copied from a CSV file, you can just paste and the Tableau automatically creates a new data source for you. And this edit relationship is just helps you to connect between two different data sources. Say example, this maybe say sheet 1 and movie composer are related, but not really right now. But if you can just, it will just show some examples using it, or you can even make some custom relations between them. Say example, the both the have two different data sources, and you just want to connect them by region. We don't have region on this, but say example, if they are your region, you just have to click OK, and it will just have a made connection between them. I will talk about this. This actually is called primary and secondary. It's called data blending. So I will love to talk about it on the further classes. But talking about the interaction of each of the menus, I'll just keep it short. The replace data source is very similar to the one which I showed it here, the right click replace data source. So where you can just replace any database with anything with anything. So Excel file with an SQL server, or it's up to you, but make sure the dimensional measures match at least with the ones which you have on the dashboard on the calculator field. So that's our small prerequisite for the replace data source. Other thing is like upgrade data source. It's like very similar to refreshing it. And Tableau data server, if you're connected, these two one data sources which you actually see is just an Excel files. So if you, it's actually a data server, you can just click it and know more information about it. And these are our data sources. So this particular menu just helps you to do things. It's, you can even right click the data source and you'll get the very exact menu you could see here. So both are just a very similar menus. So using these you can just do lots of changes. These we will actually, I don't want to talk each of them right now, but using this you can just edit the data sources, or even you can extract the data to yourself. You can have filters on the data source itself instead of having on the view, or you can just publish this or save this locally. So you can do lots of stuff. Like mostly we will be using this in our upgoing classes, so I just want to keep it short. This particular worksheet menu just helps you to add new worksheets, and the, as you might have known about the actions, so you could just use it for the interactivity of filtering the data. And the tooltip is the one which you could see when you hover over a particular marks, so you can just edit settings about it. And these few things just helps you on the, maybe say show title would be the title which you could see here, caption would just give you some, where you can just type out a small intro about this particular sheet. And show summary, it's actually just give you some overlay about the data which you have on the view. So right now we just have only one data, so just saying count one, and the sum of sales is 62. So just gonna give some minimum maximum. So it's something which only the developer can see. This particular, we call it as a summary card. So each, they actually call each of these as like marks card, filter card, page card. So this summary card, this is only something which a Tableau developer can see. If you give it, if you save this file and then maybe host it or even give it a Tableau reader, you cannot really see it. And this particular view, and sorry for that, this particular view you can see only on the worksheet pane, whereas if you have gone for the dashboard panes, you cannot, if I'm right, sheet 17, you cannot see it. It's just only, the purpose of this is just for the developer alone. So other things, cards, you can just see it like it's already shown, so it's just the row shelf, column shelves on the other cards here. This thing, duplicate as cross tab, it's actually already a cross tab though. If you say example, I'm just making it a bar chart, so just for the sake of explaining the function of it, if you just make it duplicate as cross tab, it's going to be showed in the cross tab format. Auto updates are nothing but like when you just have a filter or some interactivity, if you, whether you want to update the view or not, so that time it just gives an handy. So this duplicate as cross tab, you can always use this particular right click and duplicate as cross tab. It does help in handy when you just want to know about each of the graphs. For example, like allow me this particular view, I just want to see it as a cross tab. You can just right click and see what are each of them, like what's a view is about. So dashboard and stories I like to talk about on the next classes, how it works, how each of them is useful. And using analysis, you could just have some multiple, like say adding a subtotal or a forecast lines, or trend lines or making some changes to the parameters. So this will just be handy on that. And maps are useful when you have geo mappings. And formatting, it's a where you can customize the view of the dashboard, where you can have the alignment, borders, fonts, or the shadings of each of the background shading, where you could see here it's kind of shady here. It's kind of gray here, so you can just say like I just wanted to color by each of the row, or I just wanted to color for each of two rows now instead of once. You could, these will be helpful on during that times, or you can want to make changes to the title, captions, whatever. We'll talk about each of them. And server is something, this thing will be useful when you're gonna publish a dashboard to a public server, sorry, I mean the Tableau server. And this Tableau public, if you're gonna save it to the Tableau public thing, you can just make use of this uh, menu. And this window will just presentation mode will help you to when you're gonna present using Tableau desktop. So this view will help come in handy, so you can just switch over between the dashboards and explain to your audience. And these are just by switching the windows, where you can always do from this bottom pane also. And help, you can always watch the training videos from here, or if you're on Tableau desktop, you can make use of the sample workbooks and just analyze them, like as we did here, the superstore. I just open using this particular thing, sample. And sample gallery will actually take you, if I'm right, like it's gonna take you to some samples of it, so you can just try to know which of them. It's, if I'm right, it's gonna be taking you to the Tableau public, I guess. This does look like something like in the Tableau public. I've seen it before. So you can always go to this. And languages. This start performance recording, like I'll talk about very later on this our sessions, but this will come in handy if you want to analyze how the performance of the dashboard. As far as Tableau is concerned, the performance is very good when you have a few million records. Like if you go very granular, say in my case, it's like, say they have like 20 to 30 columns, and the rows would be like about 30 millions, I guess. I'm not sure about it. Like in that case, the Tableau just lacks it. But whereas if you have columns say 10, 15, and the records would be like 10 millions or something, the performance very good, and you just, this would not come handy in that time. But it, we'll talk about it when it will be useful. And this is the manage product keys, where if you have a license key, if you're just gonna change it or something, you just have to click it and change it. That's it. It's not nothing much about it. And talking about the pane, I'll just rush up about it. So redo, undo, and this will just help you to save it, and adding a new data source, which you can do it from here, or even from, sorry, you don't have it here, sorry. You can add it from here or using this particular thing. This is the ones you just said like pass. So if you just pass it, or you making any changes to the dashboard, it will not be reflected right away. So until you set it back or you use of the refresh button. Right now it's not enabled, but yeah, you could see it's enabled. So if you just click on run update, it will be refresh. So it will come in handy in case if you join, if it's a very huge data source and you just don't want Tableau to take some time. It will sometimes take some few seconds to make the layouts of the dashboards. So you say, you think like, I don't want the Tableau to make my dashboard until I set the things here, and then you can just turn it back. So this refresh is the one which I did it, so you can just refresh your view. And here you can just add new dashboard worksheet, so which you can also use from here. This is the duplicate sheet, so you can just, the sheets are actually duplicated here, which you could see. You can always do from the right click here. duplicate sheet, and this will just clear the sheet. So everything from the view, even the filters, the columns, rows, everything will be removed. Sorry, here. And this will just help you to swap things. For example, the region is actually on the rows. When you just swap it, it's gonna go to columns, as you could see. So this is for sorting by ascending or descending. So there are multiple ways of sorting. I'll talk about each of them on our next classes. And this is just to highlight stuffs. So if you can just highlighting, we'll see more about the highlighters. Like it's grouping members where you can just, as now we just have only one member from this. If you have multiple, say America, Mexico, and you just want to club it as a together and name it something, so that will be handy when you want to combine some particular values of a dimension. And show marks is nothing but when you have on a, say, show marks will just show you up the values near the marks. So on Tableau, each of the lines, or let it be bars, they call it as marks. So maybe I'll just show anything, whatever, I'll just go for bar chart or anything. So this was a bad example. So shapes or something, what are these particular, each of the points which you can see, they call it as marks. So which is mark labels or nothing but the ones, the information which you have. So reset axis is gonna, if you, the ones which you could see, they call it as axis, x-axis, y-axis, and actually it's by the, it's basically based off these two shelves, as you can see, the column shelf and the row shelf. So if I'm right, these are row ways, so they call it as rows here, and this is columns. So you can just, if you're just say fixed axis will be, if you're just gonna change it, say 5 to 27. So if you just want to reset it, this will be come in handy. And this particular thing which you'd be using of very often, this particular thing, which helps you to resize your view. So making it entire view will make sure your data is visible on the particular view. And when your data is huge, say for example, you have millions of records in a text tables, and you don't want, if you make it entire view, it's going to be very close, even it's not readable format. That time you just make it fit with, so we'll just get a scroll bar so that you can read it. Or sometimes you wanted to have it on a, say, on a horizontal bar, so this fit height will be handy. The standard view is something like the Tableau itself assumes like which, what is the best thing for this particular view, but I would suggest you to choose between three of the three. But if you're happy with the standard, you can always use it. And these are just to show the show cards, like the ones which you could see. Maybe I don't want the caption to be seen, you can just always use it or use from here. You can always do from here. And this is the presentation mode which I showed you earlier. So I guess I'll talk about these and this. On the data, you can always see your data sources. You can have multiple data sources, and these are dimension measures, parameters. If you have sets, you will see the sets here. Maybe as we create a new set or something, we will actually see small sets, so where you can see the list of sets in your data source. The other thing is analytics tab will help you to create like different things like reference line or maybe average line or box plots. We'll talk about them on the next classes. Like I'll help you to make sure I'll make use of everyone, each of them, the clusters and everything. The other thing is the filters, marks, and the pages. So using the marks is nothing but the view which you're gonna see. You can have like different types. Say I just want to see it on a line chart, or I want to see it on a area chart. So you can just always make changes from here, or you can always use from the show me. But sometimes than show me. Like if you're gonna be an expert, you would not really be using the show me. We'd be actually making our own dashboard using this particular thing. Like you can always see the suggestions from the show me, but I personally recommend you would have some ideas using particular things and you can make use of the marks here than going with this. And the filters is nothing but where you can just filter out your data. So you can just have to drag out something and select here, so the data on your view will be filtered from it. So if you just right click and show filter, you just have a quick filter, so you can just always change the data instead of making changes on the filters. And this quick filter is the one which your end users will be seeing it. So you can change it to anything. You can make it a single value or maybe make a drop down. Like my personal recommendation is go ahead with the multiple values drop down, because as your data grows you will have multiple filters. So maybe say to 5 to 10 filters. So if you have it as a list or something, it's going to be take out your space. So my suggestion would be always to go with the drop down, but it's always based off your data and the size of the filters which you get. Using the pages is nothing, like you just get a page control where instead of making use of the filters here, you can use it. So I guess overview. So this was, I'll just take some examples. So very simple example. So when you have multiple data, as we right now we do have a very the same dimension here, but on the next thing, on the next classes I can just show you when will the page controls will be handy. So you can always slide it, or you make use of this, or you can even make it to go itself using this particular controls here. Like we call it as page animation. One remark which I want to make about the page animation is this page animation, the thing which you could see going by itself, it will work only on the Tableau desktop and the Tableau reader, not on the Tableau server. If you host it to the Tableau server, the particular dashboard, this Tableau animation, the values going by itself would not work. The users have to manually click each of them and drag. Maybe they can use a slider or make use of the buttons here. So these controls are just very similar to the ones which you have on the music place. Just gonna stop, just gonna like say fast forward it or rewind it, and it's gonna be just talk about our speed of the animations. So lower, medium, and higher. And this show animation would be handy when we have a line chart. So the line chart would actually moving itself. For example, you have a presentation on a, say the healthcare, and you want to see how the trend of each of the analysts has gone. So you can just, if you show history, so the line chart would be moving, and you can see a like a faded out line. You could see how the the history or the past was. So that time this show history would be handy. So that's the basic on the basics of the outlay. So do you have any questions on the outlays, or you have questions on something on the any of the menu, you can ask it.
No, it's a very good sort of introduction and general overview of what is where. Maybe one question about the data sources. How about multiple sheets in Excel? Can I use multiple sheets in Excel, or should I set up a different Excel workbook for each data table that I have?
So that's a good question. The ones which we have, like say, like I like to open up the sample data sources which we have already. The sample superstore, it's actually the data sources which comes with the Tableau. All of the versions they use it. So which you could see here, like each of the sheets, or they call it as tables on the Tableau. So you can have multiple tables or worksheets. If you're gonna, I'm just gonna show you how to import it. Like actually the plan was to show it on tomorrow, but it's okay as you have got this question today. I'd love to open it up for you. So the worksheets which you have on the Excel, sorry, yeah. So orders, returns, people. So you could actually see it here. You can have multiple files. Say I want to have, like, maybe I'll go sample data, just some sample data which I had, as you could see here. So it just shows the file which I have uploaded. So I'm just removing this.
Oh, great.
So you can just have to drag and drop it, and if you just want to make joins between them, Tableau itself will take a join. Say it says the region of both the people and the orders are same, so it's just gonna take itself. And if you feel it's not right, you can always remove it and create your own. For example, city. We don't have on this, but just assume that this is city on our data source. You can always connect them. So it says like city equal to city from the data source of the people. So you could see here, or you could make a left join. So you would say like this. Are you aware of the different types of join? Just a second.
No, please explain. I don't really fully understand how it works.
Yeah, sure. It's not a problem. Yeah. So there are like four types of joins in Tableau. It's gonna be like inner join, left join, right join, full outer join. So the when you use Excel, you can use only the left join and the inner join. It's the limitations of the Excel itself actually. And if you have on different databases, say it's an access file, or it's a database like a SQL Server, or maybe say a Teradata database. So then these two, right join and the full outer join, would be handy. So to explain what is inner join, the diagram which you can see is called Venn diagram. So it says like, say this circle which you could see is actually the outers, and this circle is actually the people data worksheet. So the ones highlighted will be actually shown. So to explain in a simple way, I'll just show you. Consider table A, table B, one, two, or maybe I'll just say apple, ball, cat, and here apple and ball. So consider this as a table A and table B. If you're going to make an inner join of them, so it's going to take only the values which are common in both of them. So your end output would be like apple ball will be your output. So if you have made joins on this, so the output from the output which you can see on the Tableau will be just the common records from both of the data sources, like orders and people, only the ones which matches with the city equal to person. So that's how what the inner join works. So if it's going to be left join, so if it's a left join, as far as our example is concerned, the orders is on the left side of the join and people is on the right side. So if you make it a left join, it's gonna say table A and B. A is on the left table, so our output would be apple, ball, cat. So it's gonna take all the values from the table A and the ones matching with the B. Say for example, we have another column, say sales 1, 2, 3, and here sales would be 1, 2. So I'll just So your output, if you make inner join, would be, you will see all the, sorry, yeah, you will see 1 and 2 only. But whereas if you have made a left join, you will see all of the values. So even if you have, for example, you have some different fields here, so it will show you all of the file here, apple, ball, cat, only based off the A. So on a particular view, you can choose between whether you want to see the data of sales from the A table or sales from the B table. So if you actually use the sales from the B table, you will actually see only the value of the apple. So I don't want to confuse between these things, so I just want to make our example simple with just this. So to recap again, what is inner and left join? The inner join would be the ones, it will show the members in the common between each of the tables, whereas left join would show you the values from the left side alone. And whereas if it is a right join or the full join, so I'm just explaining it too. So whereas if you have right join, you would see the values, the out values would be apple and dog. You would not see from the A table which was not matching. So it's basically the ones in the B table. Whereas on the full outer join, your output would be like, say, it will show actually the all the values, apple, ball, cat, dog. Like as we have 4 unique values here, it will show all the 4 unique values. That's how each join works. So am I clear?
Yes, absolutely. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So this, as I said earlier, the Excel, you can just make use of the inner or the left join. So when you have it on left join, say I'm just gonna join city and persons. As we know, city and persons are not equal. So you are actually getting the data here. So whatever data on the people, like if you just go to the side, these are the value which are on the percent table. These are actually null because it's empty. It's because like there is no, like there's a no value which matches city equal to percent. So we see it here. And if you make it inner, there are no fields which matches, and we see it empty table. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how the different join works. So it's up to you to make sure like what's your end result. So if you want to, for example, I want the people to be on my left joints and the orders to be on the right side, you can make use of it and make it a left join, so the values of the people will be shown here. Like so we have, I'll just go with the person equal to city, our old example. So making it left join of the tables, this is showing us the value only from the tables because there is nothing, person equal city would not match. So it's going to show everything and the values would be null. So null is equal to empty. So I believe like you should be knowing it. So these are the different joins. You can just have add up multiple tables too. It's up to you to decide like how many tables you want to join. This is just a basic joins on the data source itself. So even I like to show this, like, so I'm just making the peoples and sheet one to be joined, or I can, if you want to change it. So you just have to place it over it and just select what, just what. So it's gonna say orders and people, like how are they connected. Is that clear? The question which was,
Yes.
yep.
That is very helpful.
Yeah, I would like to talk about it on very detail on each of them. Like what do we have on the new join, the custom SQL. We have something called custom SQL. I like to talk about on the next, maybe the very next sessions. And any other questions on the layout of it, the pane, the overview, how it works on or what each of them are. So because on the next classes, like I would be just drag and drop something or maybe just click something. So I just want to make sure like you know each of them, what is each of them are.
No, no immediate questions.
Yeah, that's great. So this I would like to talk about these pills. The uh, blue pills are actually the ones which are dimension, or it could be sometimes like say. So there are three pills: blue pill, green pill, and red pills. So whereas the blue pill means it's going to be a discrete value. So discrete in the sense like it's going to be, it could be a string or maybe it could be a value, but still you want to, it's not really continuous. And the green ones are the continuous one. So mostly the measures should automatically be considered as the uh, sorry for this, it's just taking longer time. I'll just go ahead with our, maybe I'll go ahead with this. Yeah. So the green ones are the continuous fields. So it's gonna just say like the profit would be continuous. Like say from if you have like by customers or something. So it's gonna say like the continuous field. So the total like it'll like I don't know how to explain properly, but sorry about it. The correct way how to explain is like say the continuous field or the continuous pill will help you to make sure the axis which you see is continuous from say from here to here. It's going to be like minus $5,000 to plus $5,000. That's where we use the continuous field, whereas if you have it on discrete, it's going to just show you the real values of it. So instead of showing it as a bar chart or as a continuous field, it's going to show each of the values for each of the customers as far as our view is concerned. So usually the measures would be on the continuous, but there are cases where we would use it as discrete. I will talk about it. And the red pill which I said is when there is an error on a particular, say for example, I'm just creating a wrong calculation. So you could see if I'm just gonna drag it over here. Oops. It's okay, I can do the same here too. So if there is an, it says that the calculation profit plus is invalid because like it should be complete. I have not even linked with the proper profit. If you just add plus, it expects some maybe profit is an integer. I guess it's an integer or float on this. If it will expect some other integer or float to be on the right side of the plus. If you just give it as it is, it's gonna say profit plus is invalid. So just say for the sake of this example, I'm just adding the profit plus sales. So it would be on green. That's how the three different pills, the coloring of the pills are. The other things which want to talk about is like the when you right click on each of them, you could see like dimension, attribute, measure. So on anything on a dimension or measure, you can if you right you can convert anything to anything. So you can always drag and drop. For example, say order ID. In your case, if Tableau, for example, misses out, instead of taking order ID as an dimension, it itself has taken into a like a measure. You say no, it's not really a it's a measure, it's a dimension. So you just have to drag and drop it. So the order ID will come back here. So you could see. So you can convert the by drag and dropping, or you can, in some cases, though it's a dimension, we wanted to have it as a measure. For example, I wanted to know the count of the dimension. You can make use of the measure and just say count distinct. So you will just have the distinct count of the customer, or if you want to view for each of the count. And as our case, it's gonna be same. Like I'll show you the count and count6 on the further classes, like where you, which is the best use case to use count and count distinct. But as far as this example is concerned, we can just, it's just gonna count the number of customers, and it's like about say 9,994 customers. So this is how you just convert any of them from anything. So if it's just gonna convert a measure to a dimension, so it's gonna say the exact value of it. So instead of going on, say, I'll just make it dimension back. Profit into dimension. So on our particular use case, as we look at the customer level, that's the lowest level in our data source, I guess. I'll just take it to segment and replace this. So the ones which you could see here, yeah, as you could see here, the sum of profit. So usually the measure is nothing but it's a sum or average or maybe count of something. That's how we call it as measures. We are just quantifying some particular values. And whereas if it's a dimension, dimension is nothing but which is going to divide our data. Like say for example, if it's a sales data, we have region as a dimension. So the sales data will be showing for each of the region, and it's going to be categorized. So as I have made the profit into a dimension, the ones which you could see here, the each of the dots actually represents the different segments. It's not really combining it, or maybe I would say like it's not doing any calculation on the profit. It's actually showing the values of each of the segments on our database, right? Or maybe the data sources. Am I clear with this, or do you want me to explain it again about it?
Oh no, it's definitely helpful. The discrete versus the continuous. I think I understand it.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And to talk about the attribute, so if it's going to be, say, I'm just going to customer, yeah, customer is an attribute. So just want to differentiate between what is a dimension and attribute. Whereas if you have an attribute, the customer is an attribute, you're gonna see the star. The reason is like if the attribute is something which just gives you some extra information, it's not something which will divide your data. Having a customer as a dimension will divide your data, like for each segment, for each customer, what is my profit. That's how adding a customer into a dimension will give you an end result. But having as an attribute will not change your data. It's going to say for segment and profits. It's just going to give you for the customer. For understanding the sake of the example, I'm just having the around the filters. So it's going to just say as there is only one value for this segment and profit on our view, it's going to give us the exact value of the customer. When we have multiple customers on the view, it's not going to divide our data based on the customers, it's just going to show the star. So this attribute would be useful when you want to know like if there are only one customer or multiple customer, that time it would be handy. And this attribute is something which is shown on the tooltip. Mostly on the tooltip you can, like for example on this particular view we have segment and profit. For you wanted to know the customer name, you can always add it to detail, whereas it will actually divide the value. But if you, for example, if you wanted to see the customer name of each of them and you are editing tooltip, it will actually by default take it as attribute, because the custom name is not on the view where you could see segment or profit or our real view of the dashboard, and it's gonna show you the customer name to star because it's multiple thing. And even if you try to change it to dimension, it's gonna say like it's not a measure, like the customer name cannot be converted to a measure because the tooltip should be either the dimension which is already on the view, or it's a measure which you want to have. For example, say sales. You can have a sales depth on the tooltip, but you cannot have a dimension which is not a part of the view. So that
Oh, okay.
that time it will always if you have add something, it will always convert it to attribute. So that's where the attribute comes in useful. So if you really want to know on customer, you actually have to add it to the detail. So your data will be divided to the based on the customers, and the tooltip will give you the level of detail to the customers. So that's how the dimensions attribute works. Other thing to talk about layout, like I'll show you each of them maybe on the table calculations on the next classes. One more thing, I just want you to email me when you can. So I'll just share you some document where you can just know it's a few things about Tableau. Maybe I'll just send you some content document so which will be helpful for you. Even if I just miss out something or from it, you can always point me, hey Rajiv, you have missed out this particular topic. You can cover it up, so I can always take it up. But I'll make sure I'll cover each of them. But in case if I missed it by mistake, I'm saying sorry now itself. But you can always point me at that time.
Oh, great.
Yeah, thank you. I like to talk about the connection, how to bring data from an Excel or maybe from database into Tableau on the next classes, and uh, I will talk about the calculator field tomorrow and different types of charts and how each of them, or maybe if possible I'll try to replicate in each of them. And for today, like as we have a half an hour, like I'll just talk about like little just I'll just say like very basic introduction of this thing. The ones which you could see is called worksheets. So that's very similar to the ones which you have on the Excel file. You just go on to on most of the cases of Tableau and Excel will try like what to say. It's going to be similar. So you can just always to understand how the Tableau is. You can always compare with an Excel. So this sheet is called where you create a dashboard. It's called worksheets, and there is something called dashboard where you can have multiple worksheets together, or even you can have just one worksheets, but it's up to your requirement and the client's requirement to have how many worksheets to be on the same view. Like the best practice is to have 3 to 4 worksheets on a single pane, but in case there are few cases where you could have even 7 or 8 worksheets on a particular dashboard, but having multiple, like say 8 dashboards together would actually consume your spaces, and it would be not good to have that. I can show you some examples on the later classes where you'll use 8 dashboard in a particular view, where you'll have only 2 worksheets dashboards, so you can have multiple dashboards. So just recapping it, one worksheet is actually is the basic form of the Tableau workbook, and you can have a dashboard which consists of multiple worksheets, and in a workbook which is nothing but this file which you could see. That's how you could have multiple dashboards on it. And if you're gonna share this dashboard to your clients or the end users, you'd obviously share this workbook, or if you're gonna host it to your Tableau server, you're gonna publish this particular workbook. So that's the basic terminologies here. So it's gonna be worksheets, dashboards, workbooks. So that's the hierarchy of our Tableau. Another thing which we have is something called story mode, the one which you could see like a book here. So you could maybe drag and drop a dashboard, or even it could be a worksheet. So if you just drag it over here, this will be helpful when you're just going for a presentation, like, or maybe say your users, you can always, for my case, I'm just not really using the story mode. I'll just give the end users only the dashboards. But there are some cases I just want to talk about the each dashboards or each worksheets. I'll go with the story mode. And the best thing about story mode is like you can save the, for example, I have selected the particular marks, or maybe uh, say for example particular region. Say I'm just going to highlight this thing. So the ones which you could see update, it will be saved, say point 1, or maybe say north region, just an example. So I'm not sure if this is the north region of US, but for the, I guess it's a central region. So for the sake of understanding, I'm just highlighting this, making a like changes to it, and highlighting this as the save as a new point, and name it as the west region. Sorry. So this thing, when you just give us something in the dashboard view, the users may need to select each of them manually by themselves. But whereas if you just share it by the story mode, you can just have it like a small tabs, whereas the user just have to click it here to see them. So even you can just save the ranges here. So the filters, the parameters, whatever which you have, you can just save it. And when you just give to this story mode to the users can just see, instead of themselves just gonna be analyze it, you can just give them an idea what are them. Or example, you can even say like, I'm just gonna drag a description and say this is my central profit. So even you could just give them some small notes. It could be like say, or you could say for example, Ohio have the least profit. You can add it here and just give something like that. On this particular view, I would say like maybe the bigger circle. Bigger circle is nothing but New York, so I can just give them an idea that New York is the best, or something like that. Just an example. So this way, instead of the users themselves doing on the dashboards, you just give them an idea of what is the data, or and the highlighted data and the filtered data will be saved. So it's like kind of a save point or something. Did I explain it well to you, or do you want me to repeat it?
No, I think I get it. One question I have is, to do a dashboard, do you need to keep the multiple sheets, or can you have a workbook with just dashboards and no sheets? Because a dashboard is a compilation of sheets, isn't it?
Yes. So
So is it possible to build a dashboard and then remove the sheets and only keep the dashboard, or how would you do it?
to say about the dashboards are nothing but it's going to be just a layout where you can just combine the worksheet. So when you don't have a worksheet, so the even if you have, for example, say I'll just open up a new thing.
But so if you want to share a file, like if I want to communicate with the end user, and the end user is interested in the dashboard but not in the individual worksheets, how would you set it up? Because on the bottom now you have a combination of sheets and dashboards. I'm wondering, can you show the dashboards without the sheets, or how would it work?
Yeah, I get your question.
Oh, okay.
So if that was your question, then that's something you could see. If you just right click, you could see like hide all sheets.
Okay,
So if
okay.
you just click it, all the sheets which are on the view, for example, our sheet 17 actually is not on the pane which you could see here.
Oh, great, great.
So this way you can just share only the work dashboard. The user really need not care about the worksheets. Like for them, it's going to be just a dashboard. They really need not know like what is worksheet, workbook, dashboard. It's for them. It's going to be a very simple term, dashboard. Give me my dashboard. We're just going to give them a dashboard where we hiding all the worksheets. So this way, as you answering your question, so this is that which you're gonna need. So all right, just delete it, or maybe I'll just create something with this so it will be easier for you. So I'm just showing the different dates and making it and you can always do right click and hide sheet, or you can do here by hide all sheet. So hide all sheet, if you have multiple worksheet, making it hide all sheet will hide all the worksheet. So you just need
Oh,
to share
great.
this, and so the users really need not know about the worksheets. So they just can,
Oh, okay.
and maybe you can highlight it and give them a dashboard subtype. Let's say this is gonna be like dates of, or maybe say publish date. So it's just gonna save it and give them the file to the users. So that's how. Yeah. So basically the dashboard is nothing but the place where you can combine your worksheet. So the dashboard is just like a table. Just consider it a table where you can just keep your things. But if you don't have things to keep on it, it will be just a blank table. So just in a small example. Are you clear about the story mode? Do you want me to explain it again if you want to? Like,
Oh, no, it's great.
yeah, thank you. The other thing to say is the extension. Yeah, as I said, like I just want to talk about the extensions. We have like few extensions, TWB, TWBX. Like TW is nothing but Tableau Workbook. So that's what TW means. Or maybe it's, for understanding, I'm just splitting it up. Tableau Workbook, and whereas TWBX means it's a package Tableau Workbook. So the difference between TWB and TWBX is nothing but, whereas Tableau Workbook, it's nothing but just your sheets. It's not gonna have your data about your different, uh, like say data sources. So showing it to you, these things. The Tableau will not really save the details about them on the, if you save it as a TWB, it's not going to save the information about it, like how to connect it, the login credentials and stuff. But whereas if you have it on a package Tableau workbook, it's going to save all the information, everything. It's going to save all your dimension measures, calculator field, the data sources. If you have it on an extract, for example, as I said, like we can have it as a live connection or as an extract. So if you have as an extract, even the extract will be saved together with the uh, TWBX. So we always prefer to save it as an Tableau package workbook, so it's easier for the audiences to see it. So I'm just saving it on my desktop. So this Tableau workbook is what the file which is gonna share it to the my audience. Like as you said, the Tableau view, always if you're gonna share the workbook to the files, make sure like it's on the Tableau, I mean the package TWBX, the package Tableau workbook, so that the users can open it up. So the once you who gonna use it may not have the complete data sources or even the login credential and stuff. Login credential in the sense the login connection string. If it is gonna be a data database, it says, for example, hit me with the production server named XYZ. So that information is only saved when you have it as an TWBX file. And as I said, I'm just repeating it. The Tableau reader can open up the TWBX files. So if you're gonna share it, so make sure to save it that way. So other few extensions are like TDE and TDS. So TDE is nothing but the Tableau data extract file. It's nothing but, if you, as I said, if you're gonna we have something like live connection and extract connection. Extract connection is nothing but uh, like just give us small information like what is an extract. Extract file is nothing but a Tableau which is gonna save the data in its own format so that the retrieval of the data from the data source is faster. And it's like, say for example, in some cases, as for our cases, the records are actually just 9,000, I guess. But if you have millions and millions of records, if you have it on live connection, it's gonna reach out to the file for each time to get the data. So there you can see some network latencies or maybe computing time. Whereas if you have as an extract, Tableau will actually download the data and it's gonna make an offline version of it and use the extract file. So the computation, the latency, everything will be reduced and it will be very faster. So it's gonna be like, say you have a file on internet, you have downloaded it, and it's not an updated version, but it will be very faster than using on the internet. That's how the extract works. So this extract, if you save it locally, it's going to be save it on the .tdf file. I will talk about the live and extract connection again on the next classes, but just want to give you a basic idea what an extract is. Like .tds is nothing but a Tableau data source. So for example, on our case, like add to save data sources, if you just add it here, it will be saved as .tds. So it's just gonna be have a complete information about it. And like as I showed you earlier, my Tableau repository usually it goes on Tableau sources. You can have it on any particular path. Say I just want to have it on my desktop. You just have to just save it. So if you just share this thing, for example, there is another developer who needs to make a dashboard, but he does not really need to see your dashboards or he does not really need to see your calculator field, but he just wants to use your data, same data sources, let's say the same Excel file or same database. You can just save it like dot .tds and just share the file with him. So file, maybe I can just drag and drop it. So that will be actually just created as a uh, new data sources and he can use it. So the ones which you're seeing is like it doesn't know where the exact file path is. So if you have already shared the file path with the you're the other developer, you can point it, or you can always go with the other format which I wanted to show is like add to save data source dot tds, which you could see here. I'm just gonna, sorry for that, something. I'm just a little confused with the difference between the data source and package data source. We don't really use it. Like we always just share with the dashboard, but I can check it out and update you on the next new session. Is that fine?
Absolutely no problem.
Yeah, sorry for that. There's some little, I just want to differentiate between either of them, but just little, I just missed out something of it. But to just say what is a data source is just nothing but you just give him only this particular file. Like it's not gonna give you all the calculated field, like say the calculation which you have created. He's not gonna see it as we have just given him only the data source. That's how the extension work, the .tds works. And we do have some other extensions like the Tableau workbook extension. We don't really use it. We don't really use much of the Tableau workbook, which you could see here. Yeah, here it is. Sorry for that. So you can just actually create a Tableau bookmark, but we have not never really used it. So just wanted to let you know about it. Like I think that's it for today's sessions. I would like to start tomorrow. If you have something to ask, you can always ask me.
Okay, great. One more question I had is, I was told that we could install a copy of the software as well so I could practice, and I have the version 10 on my Windows desktop, but I was hoping you might be able to help me get a Mac version for my laptop so I can take it to work and practice from there as well. Would that be possible?
We do have versions of the Mac. Like, is there any issues with that? Like,
Sorry?
no, if you just go to Mac, like on your Mac, if you just go to Tableau desktop, and you can either make use of the 14 days trial version, or if you have a license, you can make use of it. Or even if you don't have a license, I would personally recommend you to make use of the Tableau public version. And if you're just gonna click it, try it for free. I'm just giving some random email ID just for the example.
Oh, okay. For some reason I thought the software was included with the training when I sent the email, and that you would help me get it installed. And since I have the Windows version, I was hoping you could help me get the Mac version for my laptop, but
Okay,
I
okay.
guess
Like,
that's not the case.
it's not like even if I gonna share, I just gonna share you the link. Like this is gonna be the link for your Mac. You could see here. You can always go to your Mac and just click it, so it will always download itself. Or if you want, like you can see at the bottom, like tableau.com/downloads desktop Mac. That's how you get the updated version of it. Like we
Yeah, okay.
we don't really want to share through email or something. It's going to be take like 200 300 MB, and it's good to download from the Tableau version, so it's kind of updated. So just want to let you
Oh,
know.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, um, where do you get the license fee from if I wanted to buy another license for Mac? Do you know, because it's pretty expensive for, per license. I was wondering if it's cheaper in India, or if you have a source that sells it for cheaper than it's like $500 or $900 per license to get it on my Mac.
Actually, like the license which I'm using is actually my client's license. He just gave me one, so I just have a one license.
Yeah.
Whereas on a one license, you can use it on two computers. One is on my work computer, and I have used the other one on my personal computer. So I don't
Yeah.
right now. I don't know any source who can help you out, but I can check with my friends or maybe check with my colleagues who can help you on this, and maybe I can check it today or tomorrow and update you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I much appreciate that.
Yeah, and other thing is like for the training or maybe on the initial stage, you can always go with the Tableau public, which would be helpful for you. And but as I said, you have to always rely on your cloud. You can save it on your cloud, but not on locally. But you have the exact functionality of what is there on the Tableau desktop, but limited data sources. But as far as my understanding, we would be using the Excel mostly. So installing the
And
Tableau.
then with
Mhm.
And then with Tableau Public, once you upload a file to the cloud, will it be visible to other users, or can you keep it private just for you?
Yes, you can keep it private. So where you can see the Mac version of this is also available. So you just have to need to create an account. I just have one already. So I'll just show you how to. So if your trial is over and if you wanted to practice it until you get your own license, so go to my profile. Here you could see like I've just hidden all of my dashboards. So this is private. So unless someone has the link to the dashboard, they can't really see it. If you share the link to them, they can always see it at any time. But the what to say, the browsers, like the ones which I see on the galleries, are nothing but the examples from different authors. So you are an author here though, and others would not really see it unless you share the link.
Oh, okay, great. And then the difference between public and desktop is the public doesn't let you link to as many data sources as the desktop. Is that the main difference, or?
Yes, that's the first difference. Other thing, you cannot really save the workbook, like as see, you could save it to these save as and save it locally on the Tableau desktop, whereas on Tableau public, you have to always rely on the Tableau public to save it. Like instead of on the Tableau public, if you allow me, or maybe I can show you on the next class, it would be like save to Tableau public as. So you have to save it like this. You cannot save it locally. That's a small drawback maybe. Or sometimes it does come in handy if you want to open up your file on the work and home, so you do not really need to share your files through email or something. You can just save it to Tableau public and reopen it on the Tableau public on your.
And then with Tableau Public, does it allow you to link to Excel files as well, and then automatically update the dashboard from the Excel, or is that only desktop?
And desktop Tableau public will be
Okay.
kind of using the extract functionality, so it's gonna take you the offline data to itself, and if you want to update it, it's you who gonna do it manually. So that's also something Tableau public lacks.
Oh, okay, and then so Tableau Public, can you link to a data source, or does it has to take and does it have to import the data into the file?
Sorry, what was the question? I didn't get you.
With the public, does it link to the data source, or does it become part of the workbook like the
It
Tableau?
comes
Does it?
it comes part of the workbook. It's gonna be, we're gonna upload it as a
Oh, okay.
package to workbook. It's gonna save it itself. It's in Tableau public. We are not gonna differentiate it between TWB or TWBX. It's gonna save it itself as a packaged version. So it's gonna take the work file itself. Like as you could see here, examples here, the file is incorporated in itself.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay, great.
yeah, and I'd like to talk about the timings. So what is your expectation on the timings? Like how do you want the classes to be?
Well, I have time during the weekend, and so I'm in the central time zone, central CST
Yeah.
time,
Okay, yeah, I get that.
and I'm available every weekend between 1 and 4 p.m. So 1 and 4 in the afternoon, and then between 9 and 11 in the evening. And then during the week, I'm available during the day between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. and then between 9 and 11 p.m. And so any of those days work for me. And I tried to email, let me see if I still have it. I tried to email the available times in oh, see. Are you still there, Rajiv?
Yes, I'm here. Like, have you emailed me?
Okay, great. No, I'm pulling up the email right now.
Yeah, sure. Steve, are you going to type it? If you want to type it, take your time. Like, it's nothing much in a hurry. Maybe we can
Oh
even.
no, I was copy and pasting it, but I had to look up your email address and then
It was. Yeah.
send it.
Yeah. Like, are you expecting to have on weekdays every weekdays or on alternate days? Like what's your expectation?
Oh, all of that would work for me. Whatever is convenient for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm available during the weekend, so whatever, I'd like to, progress with the training. So every day would be fine, but if it doesn't work for your schedule, I'm flexible.
Yeah, sure. I'll see to your timings in it. I'll just update you.
I just emailed it to you.
Yeah.
So basically every evening I'm available between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then Monday to Friday I'm available. Oh, it failed. Let's see. Maybe I mistyped your email.
It's rajiv.sabrina@gmail.com.
So
You can,
on,
a, you can see on my screen.
yeah. So in the evenings between 9 and 11, like we did today, or every day of the week. Oh, sorry. Let's see. So Monday to Friday, I'm available between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And then every day of the week I'm available between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. So the first two lines of my email should be flipped.
Okay, I get it.
So during the week I'm available, like, the business hours, Monday through Friday, and then every evening I'm available 9 to 11 p.m. But it was a little confusing trying to convert it to Indian Standard Time because some of the times it switches to the next day, like in my case it's Saturday in the United States, but I think it's Sunday in India already, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna be like, say, for your evening time would be night time for me.
Well, yeah, but isn't it like my evening time? This is evening for me. Isn't it morning time for you?
Yeah, it's a morning for me. It's like 9:30 a.m. Like it's
Yeah.
showing 6:30. Like I'm just wondering, is it showing the right time here? 6:03.
No, it's the wrong time zone. I'm in CST because it's 11 p.m. here now.
Okay, okay, it's my mistake. Sorry. Yeah,
That's
so
it.
it's 11 p.m. for you, and it's 9:30
That's
for me.
right.
Yeah.
So, so 9 to 11 every night is good for me. We have a 4-year-old son, and when he goes to bed, I've got the rest of the evening to work. And then Monday to Friday, business hours are good for me as well.
Okay, so you're gonna say like this one. Sorry. This- You said 9 to 11, right?
9 to 11 p.m. Central Time, yeah.
9 to 11. 9 to 11. Okay. This on the weekends. Yep.
Every day
Every
I'm
day.
available those hours, yeah.
Yeah, even it kinds of. Maybe I'm not sure if I can just make it on like say 9 o'clock, or maybe we can have an hour session, 1 hour session each day, maybe 10 to 11. That's actually possible for me. So if you want to have it on 10 to 11 every day, I'm fine with it. And on the weekends, like what did you say? Like I just want to.
Oh no, this was every day of the week, 9 to 11 p.m., but then during the week, Monday through Friday, I'm available between 8 a.m.
Mhm.
and 5 p.m. as well, and I think some of that is your evenings, so it might work well.
8 to 5 p.m., right?
Yeah, but it's only Monday to Friday for
Monday to
me.
Fridays.
During the weekend, during the weekend, I'm not available those hours.
In that case, like I would be back by around your 10:30 or 11 of your time, if I'm right. So if you like to have a training on the morning times, I'm fine with it. Like say like 11 to 12 of your time, or maybe even 11 to 1 p.m. of your time.
Yeah, that'd be great, like 11 to
Yeah.
1. It would
I,
be
I'm,
great if you could, if
now I'm
everything's
just gonna
available.
give you some options. Like we can always be say your time, CST. I'm on weekdays. I'm okay with 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. maybe.
Okay.
And as you said, like if you wanna try from 9 to 11, like I'm happy with 10 to 11 p.m. of your time. Like this works for me for weekdays or weekends. Like I'm fine with any days. Like so you can just let me know out of these schedules, like based upon your works and stuffs. Just let me know. I'm okay with it. So on,
Okay, great. Do you want to try tomorrow evening again, then 10 to 11 maybe?
yeah, sure, we can.
Okay, great. And then do you need more times from me, or how long in advance do you want to schedule?
Just let me know by like a day before, so I can just plan accordingly.
Okay, so tomorrow we can decide
Yeah, sure, we can. Can you hear me? I just lost you. Hello? Steve?